Narayana Yogindra Kripashayam Rangeshapadavinattam Srinivasamunim Bhaje Srinivaseti Shrestadaya Patram Gunanvita Kushikalam Tarangatya Chiram Vyetam Bhuvi. Samvasishtanaptaram Jakte Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Kadatam Tapohanidhim Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Krathitam Puranamunina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvāmanusandadhāmi Bhagavad-gīte Bhavadveshinim Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachaloramadhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Offering my pranamams to all the Bhagavatas in this satsanga, I shall resume today's class. Today being the auspicious day of the Dirnakshatra Dina of our Swami Sri V.T. Tirunarayanagara Swami, VTT Swami as he was popularly known, with whose grace we have been able to do this Kainkaryam all these days, and we shall pay obeisance to that Acharya by reciting his Taniyan ones. rAmAnuja Guroho Putram Vatsalyadi Gunarnavam Narayana Gurum Vande Dravidam Naya Deshikam Narayana Mahadeshikaya Namaha. And it's been our bhagyam that we have been associated with such a Kainkaryam in memory of that great Acharya. So with that we shall resume today's class. Last class we were doing the Anusandhana of the Shloka Najayate Mriyate Va Kadachit Nayam Bhutva Bhavitavana Bhuyaha Ajonitya Shashvatoyam Purano Nahanyate Hanyamane Sharire. We were doing towards the end of this Shloka. I shall just read the Bhashya once for the Sangati. उक्तैरेव हेतुभिः नित्यत्वेन अपरिणामित्वात् आत्मनो जननमरणादयः सर्वे एव अचेतनदेहधर्माः न सन्ति इत्युच्यते. तत्र जायते म्रियते इति वर्तमानतया सर्वेषु देहेषु सर्वैः अनुभूयमाने जननमरणे कदाचिदपि आत्मानं न स्पृशतः नायं भूत्वा भवितावानभूयः अयं कल्पादौ भूत्वा भूयः कल्पान्ते च न भविता. केषुचित् प्रजापतिप्रभृतिदेहेषु आगमेन उपलभ्यमानं कल्पादौ जननं कल्पान्ते च मरणम् आत्मानं न स्पृशति इत्यर्थः. अतः सर्वदेहगत आत्मा अजः अत एव नित्यः शाश्वतः प्रकृतिवत् अविशद सतत परिणामैः अपि न अन्वीयते. पुराणः पुरापि नवः सर्वदा अपूर्ववत् अनुभव्यः इत्यर्थः. अतः शरीरे हन्यमाने न हन्यते अयमात्मा. So Lord Krishna is again stressing on these points about Srishti, Janana and Marana of the people what we see in the world. How is that to be explained? So Janana Maranadeha Achetana Dharmaha, Achetana Deha Dharmaha. Deha is Achetana, inert, and the Janana and Marana are the attributes of the inert Deha, and it doesn't even touch Atma because he is Aparinami. So here further there could be a doubt for which it is answered. I am Nayam Bhutva Bhavitavana Bhuyaha is told in the Shloka. I am Kalpadau Bhutva Bhuyaha Kalpante cha na Bhavita. this is the explanation, commentary given by Bhashyakarar for this. The past tense in bhutva means kalpadau. Nayam bhutva means any specific kala vishesha. Kalpadau, and bhuyaha means kalpante. That is beginning of the kalpa and end of the kalpa. So the negative nishedha there, nai, is not to be taken as nabhutva nabhavita, but it is to be taken as bhutva nabhavita iti na. That is the anvaya Bhashyakarar is giving here. So the commentary is keshu chit prajapati pravrti deheshu agamena upalabhyamanam kalpadau jananam kalpante cha maranam atmanam na sprushati ityarthaha. So there is an objection which can come here, that if najayate, mriyate, etc. is told, and why should it be again in the shloka told as nayam bhutva nabhavita na bhuyaha, etc., specifically addressing kalpadi and kalpanta. So Bhashyakarar says that if there is an objection raised that during specific kala visheshas, that is specific times like kalpanta, kalpadi, etc., beginning of the kalpa, end of the kalpa, etc., in specific dehas, bodies like deha visheshas such as Chaturmukha Brahma and others, Srishti and Pralaya and all are told. So is it only due to the connection with the body and separation from the body? How can we understand that? Because at specific time in specific bodies, Srishtis are all told. So there Shruti says Mahanarayana Upanishad, Toyena Jivan Vyasasarja Bhumyam. Toyena Jivana Vyasasarja. Sasarja is he did Srishti, created. He is told. So Srishti of the Jivas, Jivan Vyasasarja. And also Prajapati Praja Asrjata is also told. Samudradar Navadati Samvatsaro Ajayata. Chaturmukha Brahma was Samvatsara is Chaturmukha Brahma there. Chaturmukha Brahma was born. So all these things are told, and Pralaya also it is told, Avyaktam Akshare Liyate Aksharam Tamasi Liyate Tamaha Pare Deve Eki Bhoti. So in Kalpanta and Kalpadi, specific times Srishti and Pralaya are told, and specific bodies it is told, how is to be. And before Srishti, so that is why Bhashyakarar has explained, he explains that as it is not that the Kalpadau Jananam Kalpante Chamaranam Atmanam Nasprishati. Even in those times, whatever is told, it doesn't touch the Atma. So the explanation, even Ekavijnanena, there is Shruti statement that Sadeva Somyedam Agrasid Ekameva Advitiyam. Sateva Asit, Ekameva Asit, Advitiyam. All these things are told. Ekameva, the Avadharana, Eva is told due to that only. Because of that only, Bhashyakarar establishes Ekavijnanena Sarvavijnanam. That is, knowing one, everything is known. And that one willed and became many. So kamayata bahusyam praja yeyeti taha akamayata. That willed, he willed that bahusyam, I will become many. Praja yeya, may I be born, may I become many. And so with all these, how is it known that Jiva Swarupa Utpatti Nasha does not happen? That doubt may arise. So the answer is again here that Jiva creation means it is only coming into contact with the Deha and Indriyas. And the Ekatva Avadharana before Srishti only shows that there is no Nama Rupa Vibhaga. That is absence of differentiation into name and form. That is the only explanation for that. And it is not that Atmas are born or Atmas get destroyed, etc. It is told that Toyena Jivan Vyasasarja and all these things again. And Sadeva Somyedam Agra Asit, Sateva Asit, only one was there, there is nothing else existing, means everything was existing in a very sukshma form. So there was no differentiation of name and form is the meaning that we have to understand from that. So that is what is explained as the Srishti is explained in Brahman was existing in an undifferentiated state, being inseparably associated with subtle sentient and non-sentient principles, Chetana, Chetana. And it became differentiated into sentient and non-sentients with names and forms and still remained inseparably associated with them. So the Apratak Siddha Sambandha of Paramatman with Chetana, Chetana in during Srishti, before Srishti, it was Chetana was in Sukshma form. There was no name, no form, etc. And it became expressed into names and forms. In the form which became Sthula, and Paramatma remained Apratak Siddha. The sambandha between Chetana and Paramatma is always inseparable. So it is explained as Sukshma Chidachid Vastu Sharirakasya Brahmanaha Sthula Chidachid Vastu Sharirakataya Parinamat. There is a Brahma Sutra called Parinamat in Prakriti Adhikarana, which explains the creation, etc. So the Parinama that is told to Paramatma is only through the body. So Paramatma's either Swarupa or Swabhava, there is absolutely no Parinama, but the Parinama is only in the body. Sukshma Chidachid Vastu Sharirakasya Brahmanaha. Brahman, which was having the Chit and Achit, sentient and non-sentient principles, in the Sukshma form, very subtle form, that Brahman had this Chidachit in Sukshma form as the body. That Brahman became Sthula Chidachid Vastu Sharirakataya Parinam. So it became Sthula, Chidachid Vastu became Sthula. Brahman remained the same. So the differentiation is only in the body of the Brahman. We can also see it in the world, just like a body of a Jiva undergoes changes due to youth, old age, etc. And the Jiva remains untouched. This is told in, even Alvar says this very nicely as Yavayum Yavarum Tanai Avaravar Samayam Thorum Toy Villan. He is not touched by the changes in those Chetana and all the defects and whatever it is. So that is how Bahubhavana Sankalpa is to be understood. So during the beginning of the Kalpa, the Jivas, including Chaturmukha Brahma, get associated with the body and Indriyas, and at the end of a Kalpa, they are separated from their bodies, and the karmas cause a reduction or increase in the attributive consciousness of a Jiva, that is Dharmabhuta Jnana. And in the Swarupa of the Jiva, there is absolutely no change at any point of time, and so there is no Swarupotpatti because of the Jiva, because he is Nitya, and there is absolutely no change in the Swarupa of the Jiva. Ataha Sarvadeha Gata Atma Ajaha Ataeva Nityaha. So the Atmans who exist in all the bodies are all unborn, and for that reason only they are eternal, that is, they are Nityas. So Atman does not have Utpatti, and hence he does not have Nasha also. And he is Shashvataha. The meaning of Shashvataha is explained by Bhashikara as Prakritivat Avishada Satata Parinamaihi Api Na Anviyate. So here the Shashvata means Atman does not undergo changes such as Sthulatva or Sukshmatva like Prakriti. So Prakriti undergoes Vishada and Avishada Parinamas. Vishada is when it is Sthula, where it is clearly seen. So Avishada is when it is Sukshma. So there are two states for Prakriti. Avishada Parinama is during Samashti Srishti like Mahat, Ahankara, etc. Vishada Parinama is during Vyashti Srishti, all those that we perceive here. So there are two types of Swarupa Parinama itself for Prakriti, while the Sukshma form remains as Mula Prakriti and it is Nitya. The Prakriti also in the Sukshma form, it is Nitya only, Tattva. It does not get destroyed completely, but it remains Avyakta. Whereas it undergoes continuously, all the time it is undergoing changes in the Swarupa. So from the Mula Prakriti only all the modifications happen. While for the Jivatma, there is no Sthula or Sukshma Parinamas in Swarupa. Even in Sukshma Rupa or Sthula Rupa, whatever it is, it does not undergo Parinama because he remains Eka Rupa all the time. And there is nothing like a Sthula or Sukshma state itself for Jivatma. So Avishada Parinama is also not there as he is Nitya and Eka Rupa all the time. And Prakriti anywhere does not remain Eka Rupa, but it gets different states and is Aneka Rupa. But in the primordial state, it is Avyakta. That we have to be clear. The Nasha is, though according to grammar, Nasha is coming from the dhatu nasha adarshane, that is not being seen. That is a dhatu for nasha. And so it is not being seen, and it actually means that matter is present in some other sukshma form. And so Mula Prakriti is also Nitya Tattva in our Siddhanta. So when water is heated, for example, it disappears, and we say water is lost, but it exists in the gaseous state. So the earlier form is destroyed, it gets a new form. That is the Utpatti and Vinasha that we say. So there is no complete destruction of any that Tattva like that. While Atmans do not undergo any such changes in the essential nature, but remain the same all the time, and that is why there is told Shashvataha. So even in the Sukshma form, which is called Avyakta, etc., for Atman is always Avyakta only. He is a Sukshma only. So there is no change for Atman in whatever state. So that is what it is. The Swarupa Parinama does not happen at all. Whereas for Prakriti, all the time Swarupa Parinama is happening. That's why Prakriti is told as Nitya Satata Vikriya. It is Nitya but undergoing change all the time. Nitya Satata Vikriya. So Jiva remains the same and does not undergo any change in Swarupa, and so is called Shashvataha. Puranaha, Purapi Navaha, Sarvada Apurvavad Anubhavyaha ityartaha. For Purana, Bhashikarar gives the meaning Purapi Navaha. That is, though he is Aja, is Anadi, there is no birth for him. Nava is Ashcharyatva here. So it is told later in gitA itself, Ashcharyavat Pashyati Kashchidenam. So every time the Atma Tattva is experienced as new. One cannot say that I have experienced completely now. There is nothing more to it. So every experience of the Atman is new experience. That is the meaning. Such is the nature of the Atman. That's why he is told Puranaha, Purapi Navaha. Ataha Sharire Hanyamane Na Hanyate Ayamatma. For these reasons, the Atman does not get killed when the body gets destroyed or body gets killed. So that is what is told in Ajo Nitya Shashvatoyam Puranaha. Na Hanyate Hanyamane Sharire. Going to the next shloka, 21st shloka. Veda Vinashinam Nityam Ya Enam Ajam Avyayam Katham Sa Purushah Partha Kam Ghatayati Antikam. He Partha, Arjuna, Yaha Avinashinam Ajam Avyayam Yenam Nityam Veda. Yaha Avinashinam Ajam Avyayam Yenam Nityam Veda. One who knows this Avinashinam, indestructible, Ajam, unborn, Avyayam, unchanging, Yenam, this Atman, Nityam Veda, who knows him as eternal, Saha Purushaha, that person, Kam Katham Ghatayati, to which, who does he kill, who does he cause injury, who does he kill, Kam Hanti, which Atman who will he kill? So he cannot kill anybody, and that is a meaning. Kam Katham Ghatayati, whom will he kill and how will he kill? Kam Hanti. So the Bhashya for this is Evam Avinashitvena Ajatvena Vyaya Anarhatvena Cha Nityamenam Atmanam Yaha Purushaha Veda Saha Purushaha Deva Manushya Tiryak Sthavara Sharira Avasthiteshu Atmasu Kamapi Atmanam Katham Ghatayati Kamva Katham Hanti Katham Nashayati Katham Va Tat Prayojako Bhavati Tyartaha Yenam Atmano Yetan Atmanaha Ghatayami Hanmi Iti Anushocanam Atmaswarupa Yathatmya Ajnana Moolameva Iti Abhiprayaha. So the shloka is explained like this by Bhashyakara. Evam Avinashitvena Ajatvena Vyaya Anarhatvena Cha Nityam Enam Atmanam Yaha Purushaha Veda. That is Avinashitvena Ajatvena Vyaya Anarhatvena. Avinashitva, Ajatva and Avyayatva are the hetus. Avyayatva is told as Vyaya Anarhatva. They are the reasons, that is the hetus for Nityatva. He is Avinashi, so he is Nitya. He is Aja, so he is Nitya. He is Avyaya, so he is Nitya. By the word avyaya, any changes or modifications such as apakshaya, chedana are also indicated other than janma and nasha. One may say that there can be no janma or no marana, but will there be changes in between? Means that is also not there. So there is no apakshaya, chedana, or any of those changes, modifications also. So that is what is told by vyaya anarhatva. That is also ruled out in this. So one who knows such an Atman as Nitya, sa Purushaha Deva Manushya Tiryak Sthavara Sharira Avasthiteshu Atmasu Kamapi Atmanam Katham Ghateti Kamva Katham Bhanti. So such a person, Kam Ghatayati is told in the Mula Shloka. Bhashyakar makes it very clear here that Kam Ghatayati is Deva Manushya Tiryak Sthavara Sharira Avasthiteshu Atmasu Kamapi Atmanam. So he is making it very specific that Deva, Manushya, Tiryak, Sthavara, all these bodies, the Atmans who reside in all these bodies, among them, who will he injure anyone? Who will he even kill? And how will he do that? So this shows that Atmans in each of these different bodies are distinct and different. And there are many, Atma Bahutva, and all are eternal. They are all Nityas. So how can he even kill anybody? How can he even injure anybody who are residing in all these different bodies, Deva, Manushya, Tiryak, Sthavara, etc. There are Atmas in all these bodies can exist. And so all the Atmas are Nitya, they are all distinct, they are all different, they are all unborn, Ajas. Katham Nashayati, Katham Vat Prayojako Bhavati. So Ghatayati and Hanti is explained by in the Bhashya as Katham Nashayati, Katham Vat Prayojako Bhavati. So there is no punarukti in the words Ghatayati and Hanti. That is shown by Nashayati and that Prayojako Bhavati. Nashayati. So how can he even destroy it, or how can he even be Prayojaka in that act of killing? So he will not have, he cannot be even reason for that. He cannot even engage in such things, is what is the meaning. Etan Atmano Ghatayami Hanmi iti Anushocanam Atmaswarupa Yathatmya Ajnanamulameva iti Abhipraya. So it is not that for one who is, so he says Atmaswarupa Yathatmya Ajnanamulameva. Etan Atmano Ghatayami Hanmi iti Anushocanam. So it is not that for one who is aware there is Hantrutva Nisheda. But even those who are not aware of Nityatva of Atma, they also cannot kill either directly or through someone else. So Atma is Nitya, whether you know or not. It is, the fact is that there is Hantrutva Nisheda. So it is not only for those who are aware, but who are not aware also, because Atma by nature is Nitya and the Swarupa is eternal. So the feeling sad or getting grief on such account can only be due to not knowing the real nature of Atma Swarupa. So in this shloka, not only Hantrutva is negated, but also Anushochana on account of that. So he cannot be killed, and one should not grieve also. So the grief comes only because of the Ajnana and not because of anything else. So the word Katham shows it is not possible to get even grief on account of killing, because Atman cannot be killed at all. So that is Atma Swarupa Yatatmya Ajnana Moolameva. That Anushochana is only because of the Ajnana, that is not having the proper knowledge. Yadyapi Nityanam Atmanam Sharira Vishleshamatram Kriyate Tathapi Ramaniya Bhoga Sadhaneshu Sharireshu Nashyatsu Tad Viyoga Rupam Shoganimittam Asti Eva Iti Ataha. Now Krishna is answering another objection which may arise here. So Krishna is thinking that Arjuna may be thinking like this, or it applies to all of us, of course. So it is not that he says Yadyapi Nityanam Atmanam Sharira Vishleshamatram Kriyate. The Atmas are Nitya and the bodies only are separated from that. Even then, the Anushochana which was told here, that should not be there. How can it be Tatapi Ramaniya Bhoga Sadhaneshu Sharireshu? So the next shloka is going to be commented upon by first raising an objection here. Even though Atmans are eternal and there is just a separation, even though is it not cause for grief? Why? Means when one has a very good body which is an instrument for all kinds of enjoyments, and if that body goes and the next one can be anything, we don't know, it can be an araki, Sharira, Tiryak Sharira, Sthavara Sharira. It can cause, or we may not get any Sharira also. It may be something like Pralaya Kala or whatever. So how can it be not cause for grief? This is the objection which may come. So losing this body can be cause for grief. Just because a new body comes, it doesn't mean that it is not cause for grief. So Deshika says here in Tatparya Chandrika, suppose somebody is living in an old palace and if he has to leave it and stay in a very new jail, it is not cause for happiness. And similarly, leaving an old Pitambara, if one gets a new jute dress, so made of goni, that can also be not a cause for joy. So it will only bring grief. So how can one say that separation from the body is not to be grieved? That is the next question that is raised here, and that is answered in the next shloka, 22nd. So this is the preamble for that shloka. Yadyapi nityanam atmanam sharira vishleshamatram kriyate tathapi ramaniya bhoga sadhaneshu sharireshu nashyatsu tad viyoga rupam shoka nimittam astyeva iti ataha. So Bhashyakara raises he gives an introduction why this shloka, 22nd shloka, is coming as answering an objection that the body that we have various kinds of enjoyments in the body, and losing such a nice good body, it may cause grief itself for people. So how can that be explained? Though Atma is Nitya and we don't know what body we are going to get next. It may be Naraki or Tiryak, Sthavara, anything, or it may just remain like in Pralaya without any body, all these things. So how can you say that there should not be Anushochana? So for that the answer is given in the 22nd shloka. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinhati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. So that is answered in this. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinhati naroparani. Naraha, a man, jirnani vasamsi vihaya, throwing away torn clothes. Jirnani vasamsi, clothes which are torn. Vihaya, throwing away. Yatha navani aparani grinhati. He takes, just as he takes new clothes, tatha, in the same way, dehi is Atman. Jirnani sharirani vihaya, discarding the bodies which are totally digested or used up. Anyani navani samyati, gets new bodies. So the bodies which have become old and digested, or so the throwing those bodies, he gets new bodies. Navani samyati, anyani, different and new bodies he takes. That is the shloka here. So it is just like somebody changes old clothes with new clothes. That is how it is. So the answer, the Bhashya for this is made clear that it is just not like throwing and getting a new one, and getting a new one need not be a cause for joy because we may not get a very good body later, etc. That question is specifically answered here in the shloka, though it is not made very clear in the shloka. The Bhashya makes it extremely clear. Dharma yuddhe shariram tyajatam tyakta sharirat adhikatara kalyana sharira grahanam shastrad avagamyate iti jirnani vasamsi vihaya navani kalyanani vasamsi grinhantam iva harshanimitameva atra upalabhyate. So Bhashya makes it very clear why it is only harshanimitta and it should not be grieved. So the Shastras, we have to believe in the Shastras. It is not seen that new bodies immediately after leaving this Manusha, and other Manusha and Deva, Manusha, Deva, Tiryak, Stavara, whatever bodies are left here. And just like we wear new clothes after discarding the old ones, which happen immediately, it does not happen in case of our bodies for an Atman. So that doubt also may arise. So the answer is, the Shastra says that for those who leave their bodies in Dharma Yuddha, get much more superior body than what they had. So here he is telling specifically Arjuna that it is not simply changing, like a old cloth to a new cloth. New, just because something is new may not mean that it may be cause for happiness. Like if you leave a throwaway old pitambara and get a new jute dress, it's definitely not cause for happiness. So Krishna is telling very clearly here to Arjuna that he does not have any such, he cannot get any such doubts, because he is now going to be engaged in Dharma Yuddha. And Dharma Yuddha, whenever somebody leaves the body in a Dharma Yuddha, he always gets Adhikatara Kalyana Sharira Grahanam, a body which is much more superior to what he had. He is known very clearly from the Shastras. So there is absolutely no place for grief for Arjuna here. Is made clear, and this is made very clear in the Bhashya. Dharma Yuddhe Shariram Tejatam Tyakta Sharirat Adhikatara Kalyana Sharira Granam Shastra Davagamyate. So we have to believe in the Shastra. The answer is Shastra says that those who leave bodies in Dharma Yuddha get a much more superior body than what they had. The meaning of Navani here is not simply new, but it is Kalyanani, that is Mangalakara Deha. Krishna is telling Arjuna clearly that Navani Granhati means it is not something new alone. It is Kalyanani, it is much more superior. So it is Harsha Nimittameva, means that earlier Arjuna was having grief where there was no scope for grief. But now he seems to be having grief with respect to something which is Harsha Vishaya, that is, there is scope for joy here, lot of joy, but he is still having Shoka. So Krishna is explaining like that killing enemies in the Dharma Yuddha is not to be grieved. And now he is showing that it will only bring happiness because one gets superior body when in the Dharma Yuddha, when somebody leaves a body. So that is the meaning of this shloka. Going further, Shlokas 23 and 24 are commented upon together by Bhashyakara, the next two shlokas. Punarapi avinashitu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam iti purvoktam avinashitvam sukhagrahanaya vyanjayan dradhayati. So Bhashyakara gives the preamble that why Shlokas 23 and 24. Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavakaha na chainam kledayantyapaha na shoshayati marutaha. This is the 23rd shloka. Achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo ashoshyyevacha nityaha sarvagataha sthanuhu achaloyam sanatanaha. This is the 24th shloka. So these two shlokas are coming here to make it very clear that Bhashyakara says whatever was told in Avinashitu Tadvidhi and Sarvamidam Tatam, that shloka, the 17th shloka, whatever was told, that Avinashitva, that Atmans are never destroyed, to understand that very clearly, much more easily, Sukha Grahanaya, for easy grasping, Vyanjayan Dhradeti. It is being told again in these shlokas. Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavakaha. So the weapons, the Shastra, all those things, they cannot cut Chindanti, they cannot cut the Atman. Pavakaha nainam dahati. So fire cannot burn. Nachainam kledayantyapaha. Water cannot wet the Atman. Na shoshayati marutaha. Air cannot dry the Atman. So because he is achedyaha, adahyaha, akledyaha, ashoshyaha. So the weapons cannot cut him, not because he is having some kavacha or something like that, like Karna and all we see, that somebody have protected. That is why he cannot be cut. It is not because of that, because he is by nature achedyaha. By nature his nature is such that he cannot be killed by Shastra, cut by Shastra and other things. He cannot be burned, he cannot be wet, he cannot be dried, etc. Akledyaha, ashoshyaha. Because he is nityaha, sarvagataha, sthanuhu, achalaha, sanatanaha. So many attributes are told for the Atman here. So Bhashyakara, the Bhashya is for this part is Shastra Agni Ambu Vayavaha Chedana Dahana Kledana Shoshanani Atmanam Prati Kartum Na Shaknuvanti Sarvagatatvat Atmanaha Sarvatattva Vyapaka Swabhavataya Sarvebhyaha Tatvebhyaha Sukshmatvat Asya Taihi Vyaptyanarhatvat Vyapaka Vyapya Kartavyatvacha Chedana Dahana Kledana Shoshananam अतः आत्मानित्यः स्थाणुः अचलः अयं सनातनः स्थिरस्वभावः अप्रकम्प्यः पुरातनश्च. That is the Bhashya. शस्त्र अग्निवायु अम्बुवायवः छेदन दहन क्लेदन शोषणानि आत्मानं प्रतिकर्तुं न शक्नुवन्ति. So Shastra, Agni, Ambu, Vayu, that is the weapon, fire, water or air, are incapable of cutting, burning, wetting or drying the Atman. Chedana, Dahana, Kledana, Shoshanani, Atmanam, Pratikartum na Shaknuvanti. They can never do with respect to an Atman. The reason is Sarvagatatvat Atmanaha. The Atman has the capability to go everywhere, anywhere. So how can the Jivatman who is Anu? So we may get a doubt here, Sarvagatatva, how is it Sarvagatatva of the Atman? How he is very subtle, he is told as Anu. How can he be everywhere? How can he go anywhere? So that is explained by Bhashyakara as Sarvatattva Vyapaka Swabhavataya Sarvebhyaha Tatvebhyaha Sukshmatvat Asya Taihi Vyaptyanarhatvat Vyapya Kartavyatvacha Chedana Dahana Kledana Shoshananam. So here there is a Siddhanta which is earlier also told. The Sarvagatatva of Jivatman does not say that he is Vibhu by Swarupa, which is against Shruti Pramanas, because Shruti says Jiva is Anu. Shruti says Vala Grashata Bhagasya Shatadha Kalpitasya Cha Bhago Jivasya Vijneyah Sachanantyaya Kalpate, or Aragra Shatabhagasya is also told. He is the Valagra or Aragra at the tip of a hair or tip of a nail. If you take Shatabhagasya, if you break it into 100 parts and take one of the parts and again break it into 100, Shatabhagasya Shatada Kalpitasya, 100th part of a 100th part of a tip of a nail. That is the size of Jiva is told in the Shruti. So it is not that Jiva can be measured like that, but it is to say that he is very, very Sukshma. So we cannot measure, but this explanation, what is told in the Shruti, Aragra Shatabhagasya Shatada Kalpitasya Cha, is only to say he is Sukshma, that he is not, he cannot be measured like that. He is very Sukshma, very, very subtle he is. So that is what is told. So Sarvatattva Vyapaka Swabhavataya. So Jivatman has Anupravesha Vishesha Yogyata. He can enter into any of these tattvas. During Srishti, Paramatman does what is known as Anupravesha with Jiva into various bodies and differentiates into names and forms. The Jivatma will be lying down just like Achetana during Pralaya. So Achid Avishishtan Pralaya. Achid Avishishtan. He cannot be told to be as different from Achita. Like that, like Achetana, he will be lying down. And what Paramatman does is during Srishti, Anena Jivena Atmana Anupravishya Namarupe Vyakaravani. Anena Jivena Atmana Anupravishya. So he Jiva Shariraka Paramatma enters, that means Jiva enters, and Paramatman is Atma to Jivatma. So he being Antaryami to Jivatma, he makes the Jivatma enter into the bodies and Indriya etc. he gets and differentiates into Nama and Rupa. Nama Rupe Vyakaravani. Vyakarana is differentiation. So he creates Deva, Manusya, Tiryak, Sthavara. All these names and forms are created by making Jivas enter into those bodies with respect to their karmas. And Jivas cannot enter by themselves. So Paramatman, who is Antaryami to Jiva, he does Anupravesha. He makes the Jiva enter and he also enters along with him. So Anena Jivena Atmana Anupravishya Namarupe Vyakaravani is what is told. So that also shows that Jivatman is more subtle than all other tattvas. So he can enter into any of the tattvas. That is what is meant here. Sarvatattva Vyapaka Swabhavataya. Sarvatattva Vyapaka Swabhava means he can enter into any of the different types, different bodies, any Achetana form, etc. So that is Sarvatattva Vyapaka Swabhava. And he is more subtle than any of the other tattvas. So he is Vyapaka. And the Achetana Tattva is Vyapya. Vyapya is something which is in a smaller area. Vyapaka is a larger. So he is more subtle. Vyapaka is more subtle. It enters into Vyapya, which is Sthula. So he is the capability to enter into any Tattva because sarvebhyah tatvebhyah sukshmatvat. He is more subtle than all other tattvas. That is why any other tattva like Prithvi, Ap, Vayu, Tejas, Akasha, etc. cannot enter into a Jivatma. So Taihi Vyapti Anarhatvat. They cannot enter because Jiva is more subtle than any of those tattvas. So Vyapya Kartavyatvat Cha Chedana Dana Kledana Shoshana. So if something has to be cut, that means that which is Thula, a Sukshma Tattva has to enter into it and then break it. That is how it is. So the question of breaking can happen, the act of breaking can happen by a Sukshma Tattva, and that which is broken is more Sthula than that. And because Jivatma is more Sukshma than any other Tattvas, none of the other Tattvas can even break him or cut him or enter into him, etc. So he is the one who enters into all those things. So that is one of the reasons why none of these can do anything to the Jivatma. Chedana, Dahana, Kledana, Shoshana, all these things cannot be done by Prithvi, Ap, Vayu, Tejas and all those things because they are all Sthula compared to Jiva, who is more Sukshma than any of these Tattvas. And he can enter into any of them, but they cannot do that. So, Ataha Atma Nityaha, and that is also because of that reason also, he does not undergo any such changes. So a Shastra, in this Yuddha what we see, Shastra and other things, it cannot cut a Jivatma. So when somebody is cut by a sword, Jivatma cannot be cut because it's more Sukshma than any of these Tattvas. So Ataha Atma Nityaha, because of that reason also, Atma is eternal. Sthanuhu, Achalaha, Ayam Sanatanaha. This Thirasvabhavaha, Aprakampyaha, Puratanascha. Because he is more subtle than the Achetana Tattva, he cannot be cut or burnt, etc. by sword or fire or any of these things, and hence he is Nasha Rahita. The word Sthanuhu and Achalaha shows Jivatma's Nityatva. He is Sthanu, Achala, means he is eternal, he is Nitya. And he is incapable of being destroyed. He is not an object of destruction by weapons, etc. Nasha Ayogyatva, Nashaka Avishayatva. So both are there. Or he does not undergo any change by nature or due to any of the upadhis, etc. So the word Sanatana here means Puratana Anadihi. Sanatana, meaning of Sanatana is given as Puratanaha. That means he is Anadi. That means he is beginningless because he is Aja. That means he does not have any birth. Jiva is a Nitya Tattva, eternal. So all these are all the things told. Here the Sukshmatva of the Paramatma, of the Jivatma, with respect to the Achetanas, that is Prithvi, Ap, Vayu, Tejas and all these things, that is told in this shloka, that he is, that is why he is Achedyaha, Adakyaha, Akledyaha, Ashoshyaha, because he is Nityaha, Sarvagataha, Sthanuhu, Achalaha. So he is more subtle than any of these Achetana Tattvas, and that is why they cannot destroy him. So he is Nitya, is the meaning of that. Continuing further to the 25th shloka, Avyaktoyam Achintyoyam Avikaryoyam Uchyate Tasmadevam Viditva Yenam Na Anushochitum Arhasi. Avyaktaha ayam Achintyaha ayam Avikaryaha ayam Uchyate Tasmat Evam Viditva Yenam Na Anushochitum Arhasi. Ayam, this Atman, is Avyaktaha. He cannot be known from Pramanas which show, that is the Vyakta Vastus, objects that are seen or expressed. So, Ayam Achintyaha, this Atman cannot be established by inference. Ayam Avikaryaha Uchyate, this Atman is told to be incapable of undergoing change. Tasmat, for that reason, Yenam Evam Viditva. Knowing this Atman from the Shastras, as such, Anushochitam Narahasi. You should not grieve for Atman's sake. So the Bhashya is Chedanadi Yogyani Vastuni Yaihi Pramanaihi Vyajyante Taihi Ayamatma Na Vyajyate iti Avyaktaha. What is the meaning of Avyakta is explained by Bhashyakaran like this. Chedanadi Yogyani Vastuni Yaihi Pramanaihi Vyajyante Taihi Ayamatma Na Vyajyate iti Avyaktaha. Ataha chedhyadi vijatiyah achintyaha cha sarvavastu vijatiyattvena tattat swabhavayuktataya चिन्तयितुमपि न अर्हः अतः च अविकार्यः विकार अनर्हः तस्मात् उक्तलक्षणातेनम् आत्मानं विदित्वा तत्कृते न अनुशोचितुम् अर्हसि. That is the Bhashya. Chedanadi yogyani vastuni. So first he explains the meaning of avyakta. What is avyakta? Vyakta is something which is expressed, which is seen, which is known. Avyakta is something which is not known, which is not expressed, which is very sukshma. So the meaning specifically here is in this context with respect to the previous shloka and all that. Chedanadi yogyani vastuni yaihi pramanaihi vyajyante. So Atman, removing the doubts that Atman can be inferred as told in the previous shloka, the answer to all the objections are given in this Bhashya, that Atman cannot be seen by those pramanas by which the objects which can be cut, burnt, wet or dried can be seen or known. That is why Atman is avyakta. Chedanadi yogyani. So if something can be cut, that particular object can be seen by the eyes. So it has to be sthula, whereas Atman cannot be known by such a pramana. So if something can be burned, whatever pramana that object is perceived, with that Atman cannot be known. If something can be made wet, something can be dried. So whatever the objects are undergoing these changes, whichever pramanas by valid means we know those objects, by those means we cannot know Jivatman. That is his avyakta. He is not vyakta. So that means we perceive something with the eyes which has a form. We perceive something which has sparsha, that is vayu, etc., through our skin. That is sparsha, pratyaksha. And then something by touching or seeing or hearing or smelling, etc. So all these pramanas, by all these pramanas, we can know different objects and we cannot know an Atman. That means we cannot see an Atman, we cannot feel an Atman, we cannot touch an Atman, we cannot smell an Atman, or we cannot hear an Atman. So these means by which we can know objects which can be cut, which can be burnt, or which can be wet, or which can be dried, etc. By those means we cannot know and perceive an Atman. That is why he is called avyakta. Ataha chedyadi visajatiyaha. For that reason, he is of a different class than those objects which can be cut, etc. Chedya is that which can be cut. So he is visajatiya. That means he belongs to a different jati, different class compared to those objects. The body and others are known to be possible of getting cut, etc. Whereas the Atman is not known like that. Atman is known only as I know, janami ityadi rupena iva upalambhaha. He can only be known as I know. Other aspects of the Atman such as nityatva, anutva, jnanaswarupatva, sheshatva are all known from the Shastra, and hence he can never be known by any other means used for knowing achetana vastu. So if we know that an Atman exists, we know the Atman exists as janami. Janami, I know. That is the only way we can know. Whether Atman is Nitya, how do we come to know? Whether is Atman Anu, how do we come to know? Whether Atman is Jnanaswarupa, how do we come to know? These are all known only from Shastra, and we cannot know by any other means. So, like knowing an Achetana Vastu, we cannot know Atma by other means. So, it is also told in Mahabharata Moksha Dharma, which Deshika quotes in the Vyakhyana, the meanings of Vyakta and Avyakta. Indriyahi grihyate yadyat tattat vyaktamiti sthitihi avyaktamiti vijnayam lingagrahyam atindriyam. So, Indriyahi grihyate yadyat. Whichever is perceived by the sense organs, they are all told to be Vyakta. Vyaktamiti sthitihi. Avyaktamiti vijnayam lingagrahyam atindriyam. That which is atindriya, which is lingagrahya, means which can only be inferred, is known as avyakta. So inferred means the existence of the Atman itself is not by inference. The Atman existing is self-known. It is pratyak atma. Pratyak atma. That means swasmai bhasamanatvam. Everybody knows that aham, that I exist. But What is that existence? Can we see that Atman? We cannot see. Can we feel the Atman? We cannot feel. Can we hear the Atman? We cannot hear. So his existence is known by other attributes are known only through Shastra. So even knowing in a body when there are movements in the body, etc., when somebody is breathing, etc., we know that there is a Chetana, there is a Atman. That is why it is told as Linga Grahya. And I know that I exist is also some kind of a uhe only. So because we cannot see, but we know that I exist. So it is something like an inference only, existing, known as I exist kind of thing. That is why it is told as Linga Grahya. So when we see activities in the body and we know that there is an Atman. So our own Atman also we know exists, but we are not able to see or feel it. So it is one kind of inference. So the Bhashyakara makes a wonderful statement here, Chedyadi Visajatiyaha. Atman cannot be told as Sajatiya to something which is known. So can you say that just like something else, he belongs to the same class as this? We don't have any such object, so give an example like that. So he can only be told as Visajatiya to what we know. That is, we know objects which can be cut, Chedya, like a body, etc., which are seen by us, which are all Vyakta. So we can only give example with respect to that. And when we give example with respect to that, we can only say that it is of a class which is different from what we know. That is Visajatiya. That is the only way it can be known. So he can be told as Visajatiya to those which are known to be possible of cutting. So Sajatya cannot be told with something because we don't have any example like that. So it can be told as Visaja. That's why Bhashyakara said Chedyadi Visajatiya. That is how it can be known. And he is Achintyaha cha sarvavastu vijatiyatvena tattat swabhava yuktaya chintayitum api narhaha. Tattat swabhava yuktaya chintayitum narhaha. Achintyaha, the meaning is explained as sarvavastu vijatiyatvena. Because he is of a different class than objects, we cannot think of him as having the attributes of those objects which are seen here. So if we see a body which can be cut, so he is different class than the body, so we cannot say that he is having the nature of a body. So we cannot think like that. Similarly, something which we feel like air, so we cannot think that Atman has an attribute like that. So Tattat Swabhava Yuktaya Chintayitum Na Arhaha. Whatever is Vyakta here, which are seen, which are perceived by our sense organs, those characteristics do not exist in the Atman because he is of a different class. So compared to any other object that we see here or perceive here, so he cannot be even thought of as having such nature as those objects which are sensed by these sense organs. So Atman by nature is consciousness, and the Achetana Dravya is inert and it belongs to a different jati. So it is told Sahetukam Saprakar. The reason Hetu is it is of a different class. And from all that tattvas, and so it cannot be thought of as having the nature of those tattvas, such as Akasha, Vayu, Tejas, Prithvi, Jala, etc. A Tejas Dravya has a form, for example, and it can be seen, but Atman is not so. Vayu Dravya has Sparsha, but Atman does not have. And Atman can be thought of as having the nature of, it cannot be thought of having this nature of these tattvas because it is different class. So it is Sarva Tattva Visajatiya. It cannot be known by giving any other example because there is no Sajatiya Vastu which can be equated. So Visajatiyatva is the only way by which it can be told. By this, the Bauddhas and Charvakas, etc., who accept Atma Anityatva are all refuted here. That's what Deshika observes, that when Atma is established here as Achintya, Charvakas, there are only four tattvas for them. They are Vayu, Agni, Up and Prithvi. They don't accept Akasha, Charvakas. So they say that when the four bhutas combine, a Shakti is produced. Kinvadibhyo Madashaktivate, they say. That is, when we mix lot of fruits and keep them for a long time and decay, it gets some kind of a intoxication power. That is the wine and other things which are created, which are manufactured. So it gets a power which comes out of these fruits. So similarly, when the four bhutas join together, that is the Agni, Vayu, Prithvi and all that, there is a Chetana which is coming out of that, which is called Atma. So they say, Deha eva bhaved Atma, tannashaha mokshairitaha. Body only is Atma. And when body gets destroyed, it becomes, that is a moksha, is what Charvakas. And Bauddhas are also Shunyavadis. So Bhashyakara is establishing that Atma is of a different class than any of these tattvas. It does not, so it is not born out of these tattvas. It belongs to an entirely different class, and it is nitya, it is eternal. And whatever is the swabhava of these tattvas, by those swabhavas Atman cannot be known because it doesn't even belong to that class. So that is, he is avikari, he is nitya, etc. So these are all the Charvaka and other things are all refuted when we are establishing this. Sarva vastu visajatiyatva. That's what we have to understand here. Ataha cha avikaryaha vikara anarhaha. For that reason only it does not undergo any changes, and the achetana is undergoing all the time satata vikriya. Prakriti becomes mahat, mahat becomes ahankara, ahankara akasha tattva, vayu tattva, agni tattva, and the panchabhutas are created, and all the bhautikas, things are after the panchikarana, etc. The bhautika padarthas, panchabhutas and bhautika padarthas, seed, a tree, a cotton, thread, cloth, whatever you say, all these things are, so they all get burnt or destroyed, get deteriorated, and merges into, for example, a seed becomes a tree, then you get cotton out of that, we make a thread from that, then we prepare a cloth is created from that, and that cloth may get burnt or destroyed, it gets deteriorated, it merges into the Panchabhuta. So this cycle of creation, destruction, creation is happening all the time to Achetana in various forms, in different forms. So the Achetana is all the time undergoing change in the essential nature itself, while the Atman does not undergo any such change. He is Eka Rupa all the time. The essential nature of the Atman is all the time the same, Eka Rupa. So he is told to be in the Anumana also. We can say this as Deshika gives some Anumanas here, that Atma Vikara Anarhaha Vikaritva Grahaka Pramana Shunyatvat. That is Vikara Anarhaha. He is not possible of undergoing any change because Vikaritva Grahaka Pramana Shunyatvat. Whatever we can know, that is from the Pramanas, which are Vikaritva Grahaka, the changes which can be perceived by any of the means. By those means, Atman cannot be known. So he is Vikara Anarha. This is the Anumana Prayoga. Yadyat Vikaritva Grahaka Pramana Shunyam Tattad Vikara Anarham. Like that we can say. That is, Anvaya and Vyatireka both are told. Yata Ishvara Swarupam, for example, Ishvara Swarupa. Whichever is Vikaritva Grahaka Pramana Shunya. Whatever is Vikaritva Grahaka means knowing the changes. Pramana, the means for knowing the changes. So one which does not have any means by which change can be known is Vikara Anarha. Yata Ishvara Swarupam. It can give a drishtanta like only Ishvara Swarupa. Similarly, whichever is known from Vikaritva Grahaka Pramana, that is by means by which changes can be perceived. Like through our eyes we can see changes happening in various objects. So when we can perceive like that, that is all Savikara. Yata Ghatadihi, that is the Vyatireka Drishtanta. So Anvaya and Vyatireka both can be told by this. So that is how Atmaha Avikaryaha Vikara Anarhaha. That means that which can be perceived, that which can be perceived by means by which we can know changes is undergoing changes. That which cannot be perceived by means, which can tell us that changes, by which changes can be known, which cannot be perceived by those means, is Vikara Anarha. So Atman cannot be perceived by any of the means by which we know the Vikaras of these Tattvas, because it is of a different class. The Shloka, that is why Vikaryaha, so that is the meaning of told here. So and also we can say Samanya Vyapti also, Yat Yadrisha Akara Grahaka Pramana Shunyam. Tat tadrisha akaram na bhavati yatha neelam na pita akaramiti. So that kind of anumanas are all given, explained. So it depends on the means by which we can know. Atman cannot be known by any of the means which can tell us about the achetanas, where we can perceive changes undergoing in the achetanas, We can know the achetanas and the changes which are happening to the achetanas by various sense organs, but Atman cannot be known by those means. So Atman is avikari. So here the shloka says avikariyaha. This may mean that sometimes it is avikari. How do we know that he is all the time avikari? That doubt is removed as vikara anarhaha. That is, it is not possible of undergoing change at any point of time. Tasmat uktalakshanam atmanam uktalakshanam yenam atmanam viditva tatkrite nanushochitum arhasi. So having known such an Atman as established, we should not grieve with respect to the Atman. The bhava here is that Arjuna, you who know the nature of the Atman do not deserve to grieve on this account. That is, Atma Vedinaha te shoka yogyata eva nasyat is the bhava. What Krishna is telling is, Tasmat uktalakshanam enam atmanam viditva means, Arjuna, you know this nature of the Atman, that he is avikari. Why are you having this grief? Tatkritena anushochitum arhasi. That means you should not even grieve on for that matter. So you have to engage in this dharma yuddha. Is what is the bhava of that shloka which is told there. So concluding that shloka, the next shloka is the 26th shloka. Athachainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho naiva shochitum arhasi. Athachainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho naiva shochitum arhasi. Athacha manyase yenam nityajatam va nityamritam tathapi mahabaho tvam evam shochitum na arhasi. So this is a different line of argument is going to be started from this shloka onwards for 3 shlokas. That is what is the speciality in this next 3 shlokas, and how Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna that he should not have any grief on account of either Atman or body, etc., and how he is establishing the eternity of the Atman and all these things. And the new line of argument is going to be started, and these 3 shlokas, we shall take up the study of this in the next class. As we have come to the end of this session, I shall conclude today's class here and leave the class open for any questions and answers. Thank you very much. So if there are no questions as such, we shall conclude today's session. Thank you very much.